Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're dialing in from. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share if you find this content helpful.
Ingeta.
Welcome, everybody else. It's time for some discussion. All right, I already see Nick's hand is up. Go, Nick.
Same everyone. Mine will be quick. Two things I got from. I think this book needs to be read like a few more times just to think for things to sink in. I think it's also a lot of clues are given in terms of a lot of things that are hidden in there, but there's correlation between like the fish and the heart of the fish and the liver of the fish, similar to to the story of Aaron at the bottom of Mount Sinai when the wrath of the Most High was going to wipe away the people, and Moses told Aaron, "Go run," and and he ran and he lit the frankincense, and the wrath of the Most High subsided. So it's a similar thing when you look at it. I just wanted to just share that quickly, and then secondly, the phrase there that you said on the neck, something on the neck. It's
Fell
actually
upon the neck.
fell upon the neck. Is in Kamba we said amukumbatea.
Kumbatea. Yes, that's
Yeah,
right. Yes, thank you.
it's like it's not really like a hug, but it's like now coming to someone's. Yeah, it's a hug, but in a different sense, but it means the same thing. Yeah, Ingeta.
Mm, 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 mm. Thank you, Nick. Wow. Welcome, Mama Shelley. Welcome, Elder. I see you there. Makailu. And Brother Nick Tumahuki. How is Sunday over there? Mama Emma, you're next. Go ahead.
All praises to the Most High. You started out with Tobit's blindness. And at first I thought, okay. And then, as I continued to listen, and I had made some notes earlier too, the nation of the Most High, the chosen, were partially blinded for a time. So Tobit was temporarily blinded also. Yeah, that's just caught my eye as to start out. And also, we are in this time where the blindness is being removed. We're in the awakening. So I thought that was awesome how the Most High had you started with the blindness. I didn't get it when you first put it up there though, but it's like, okay, just let's see what the Most High is gonna say about that. So yeah, this is amazing. And then Nick comes back and talks about uh, this is a book that we probably could read a few times, and this is the second time that I've been exposed to. I was exposed to it in my initial joining different groups for the awakening, and uh, as the sister said in our pre conversation that yeah, I needed some additional understanding, but when I read it this time, it was like, oh, okay. I mean, it didn't seem as strange, even though it's so a lot of different main things. It's like almost like an outline of different things. It's not a full story, and so yeah. But again, I know there's some additional understanding that's going to come as we go through the discussion. So again, like the blindness of Tobias and what he goes through. And then there's one other thing I want to mention now, but I'm not going to elaborate on it. The demon, and I did some extra work on that, and it's like, oh wow, wait till we find out about him. Okay, and get to.
You're on
Thank you,
mute.
Mama Emma. Thank you so much. Wow. I can't wait to hear what you found out. All right. Ray and Vanessa, you're next.
This is very brief. This is on the fall that we fall upon on the neck. You know, Mama Royal daughter and I, Gullah Geechee culture. That is something that we say, oh child, when I saw he, I fell pony neck.
Wow.
And that is something that we say. That remembering that the Gullah Geechee kept more of their Africanisms than any other African, American here. And so when I hear that, I knew exactly when there are certain things, as you all say, are the map. Basic, it's the map,
Yes.
or the zip code.
Yeah.
And when I heard that Fella Pawnee Neck, I said, that you ain't white. White folks don't understand what that is. And get
Wait.
Oh,
I got something to say. I did some research about this story, and it seems like it happened after the Northern Temple fell. And it would explain why Tobit and the father-in-law was suicidal. I mean, they just saw the temple go down. They're suffering from like PTSD. I mean, everybody's heartbroken. Plus, Tobit and his wife spent the time helping the poor, burying the dead. The city in that area was littered with dead people.
Yeah.
And then when Tobias, he got a chance to witness Nineveh falling. So this story is like a bridge between the Northern Temple falling, the story of Jonah and Nahum.
Yes.
So it ties all of them together. So it gives us some outline what happened after the temple fell in the surrounding areas in Getter.
Oh man, Ray, you hit it you hit the nail on the head, as they say. You know, on the very first page of this book, at the bottom, it's talking about Tobit, and he says, I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feasts, right? As it has been ordained to all Israel by an everlasting decree. The line before that statement says that all the tribes which fell away together sacrificed to the heifer Baal, and so did the house of Naphtali, my father. It's like, just think about your whole country has gone to idol worship, and you're traveling quite a distance by yourself to go worship. That guy was depressed. You're right, he was experiencing PTSD and all kinds of trauma. And he was living with it. I mean, how do I even get out of here and start going on a several days journey to go worship? I'm probably passing through villages where people are sacrificing and worshiping to Baal, and they're mocking me. Yeah, very good context, Ray. All right, Mama Matuzola.
Okay, I just want to start with this little brief comment. When I look at this book, and it readily jumps out at me how this book, when you look at this book, puts Christian culture and the true culture side by side. And the evidence is so clear. It doesn't even compare. For instance, when you look at the kind of man that Tobit was a devout man. He cared about his people. He had wealth, but his wealth wasn't about consuming it on his own lust. For him, everything was about him, about his people. So now I just want to share a little brief example with Christian culture. Okay, when Tobit, when you're reading it, it starts out early on telling you how Tobit, when he saw when he heard about his fellow brethren that had died, he would go out and try and get, to the detriment of his own self, he would go out and try and get that body and give that body a proper burial. In Christian culture, no. If somebody in my family died and I don't go to that church, these pastors won't touch your loved one. They will turn you around. They will tell you, no, we will not eulogize that person. We will not provide a service. We will not bury that person because they don't go to this church. That is what Christian culture do here in the West. I don't know what they do in other places. But you try to take your loved one to any one of these Christian churches and have them buried if they're not a member of that church, and see if they're going to behave in the same manner that Tobit behaves. That's just my little brief comment.
Ingeta, thank you for that mic drop. That's a huge one. This book does that contrast. I mean, I was reading it and I kept seeing a contrast. I was like, and it's like so easy to detect, and it's repeated like so many times. For me, what is shocking is that this is not new. If Tobit was writing about this and we're still doing it, and the irony of this book, did y'all read the first paragraph in this book, the introduction? It says, Tobit is recognized as deuterocanonical scripture by the Roman Catholic, Greek Orthodox, and Russian Orthodox churches. So why aren't they doing what it's telling them to do? Mamara, daughter, go ahead.
Ooh, this book is power packed with so much information. It's like amazing. But the one thing that I really, really see here is that how cyclical everything is. We've been in that same cycle for thousands of years, and we're back at the same place they are, in exile. And, the story is like also a guideline for us, how we should live and how to get out of this cycle. But, as the term says, the cycle goes on, the cycle continues. This cycle is not going to continue. We're at the end of that cycle, so we really need to pay attention to how, they got out of the cycle. And it shows, we were speaking the other day about how while Isulele was in Egypt, Egypt was being destroyed, while Isolele was in Egypt living comfortably, watching the destruction of Egypt. And this is what this reminds me of. Because of the way he lived, because he kept to the laws and the covenants of the Most High, no matter what was going on outside, I mean, he was affected by it, but the Most High sat there and made a plan for him and his family. So no matter what, as long as you hold on to the Most High, he will make a way for you. And that was his promise to us, that he will make a way, because all of his people, all of his tribe was worshiping Baal. It would be easy for him to follow, and it's so funny that even now with us, people laugh at us, people mock us because they say something's wrong with us, and We're the odd ones out. We're like few in number, just like him. Our stories are like so similar, it's shocking. So yeah, this is like a guidebook for us. I can't help but notice, even when when he prays, he sounded like Job. When he got depressed and he started praying, I just got reminded of Job. I'm like, yo, there's so much similarities. We're not even talking about the culture, because the culture is the breadcrumbs. We see the culture of our people all up and through, even us who have been exiled out of the land. We still retain a lot of this culture, and we connect with so much that was going on with him, that like it's funny, that we were not completely erased. We were not completely taken away from the culture. They try to take the culture out of us, but we retain a lot of it. So, that's the big thing. That's the big thing that caught my attention. How cyclical all of it is, and like we're back at the same place. It gets
Ingeta. Oh my. Oh my. Okay, Ray and Vanessa, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Go for it.
I have to tell y'all. Oh, Mama Royal Jordan, we always come to you say things that trigger. It is so common in Low Country, South Carolina, where you have a lot of Pentecostal churches. These people are super saints. I mean, I know Matavi, you said they're cooked. These bad boys is cooked, petrified, and everything else. You name it. And the one thing I remember with my grandfather when he passed, I remember this saying: "Him for didn't put nothing on the shelf, him for can't take nothing down." And I couldn't understand what it meant. It said, "Him for didn't put anything on the shelf, him for can't take nothing down." It meant he didn't bring nothing, he ain't taking nothing. So when we brought his body to the church, they quickly turned us away. And my mother, I remember her saying, "Is this the Christian way? Is this what we're supposed to do?" Well, all him do is drink all the time. That's all him do. Him stay drunk up. All day, all night, him stay drunk up. We can't bring that in here. Him for didn't put nothing on the shelf. Him for can't take nothing down. And so it was hurtful. It was very, very hurtful. But I find that, of course, because of the colonizers, they put this in us. That if somebody committed suicide, they were not supposed to be buried among the people who just died. And here we see all of this different separation, and it was everything to separate us from each other. So you further bring this separation we already have separation within the group, but then we have even more division in the group, and then more division in the group, until you just get us so messed up in our heads that we won't even stop to bury the dead people on the road. That Tobit, he was so into his people and his culture that he was willing to do what they wouldn't do. He wasn't looking for their approval of, "Oh, that's a good man. He did that." He did that because it was in we. It was in we. And see, sometimes it's not in we. We're so full of Babylon that it's horrific how we treat each other, how we talk to each other, how we look at each other. "Oh, well, you're African. Well, I'm African American." What does that mean? I think it's a beautiful, I'll be honest with you. I know that it upsets people, but I think it's a beautiful thing when the cops pull us over in America. They don't ask you whether you Haitian, Trinidadian. They don't care.
You black.
You black. Once they see this, we're not trying to dig into your culture. We're digging into this right here, your melanin. And that even speaks powerfully to us as well. Our melanin is so powerful. It's so powerful that it defies even trying to divide us, but we don't get it through our thick skulls that this is the plan of the enemy to separate us from each other. Because if they ever come together, if these two sticks ever cross, it's over. It's over. And get to.
Well, wait. Let me add on to this. The two sticks are together. And Royal Daughter, you had prophesied about how Tobias and Tobit, they were living comfortably during the destruction of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the Most High has been telling me for the longest.
Yeah.
We are living in a Psalms 91 type situation.
Yeah.
The two sticks together
Together.
as one will live comfortably.
Yes.
As we witness the fall of the heathens.
Man, that is good stuff. I'm not gonna let this one pass. I gotta throw in something in there. You know, online, you'll hear people saying, I'm foundational Black American. I'm not African. The Africans are not Isolele. The Africans are the dark-skinned people, you know. I'm like, yo, you know, how are you gonna go back home if you're talking about those at home like this? Who's gonna welcome you? Who's gonna show you the ropes? We gotta talk to one another, you know, not at each other. I mean, it's good that we're sharing information as we discover it, but we don't need to break bridges. We need to build them. You know, because we're going back home. We're going back home to the good land. That's what it was called in this book, the good land. Ezekiel calls it the glory of all lands. There ain't no better one, you know? That's home. Now, let me talk about culture. It is so repeated in this book. You know, when we talk to younger people or when our parents are counseling us, they don't give us many words. They just give us idioms, metaphors, sayings, as they call them. Now, look at Anna, the wife of Tobit. She says, Tobias is the staff of our hand. And then in the next line, she tells her husband, don't be greedy to add money to money. You got enough. Who talks like this but us? You know, I was so inspired reading this book. I went out and looked for sayings in my Kamba language. And I found a book with 1,000 of them. Literally 1,000 of them. I have it back here. You know, the whole book of Proverbs. That's the stuff. That is the stuff. You give your child that stuff, you don't have to worry about what the enemy is going to put in them out there. All right. Who got next? I'm a bit lost here. Let me see. Okay, let me go to Mama Shelley because she hasn't spoken. Then I'll go to Royal Daughter and Nick. All right. Mama Matuzola, is your hand up or is it the old one?
Oh, that's the old one. Sorry.
Okay. Mama Shelley, welcome. Go ahead.
CME everybody, Matondo Elder. Sorry I was a little late, but I'm enjoying this. I just wanted to say, Elder, I'm so glad to hear what you said about if we talk like this, who's welcoming us home? Because this has been on my heart so much, and I pray about it because we are one. We are one. And this is I think this was one of the ancient curses that they had put on us, the colonizers, many years ago, that we would always be separating ourselves from each other. There wouldn't be any unity among us. And this is something I always pray about, that we would unify, because we are one. We are one people, and we've been scattered, but we are one people. Tatan Zambi sees us as one people. The enemy sees us as one people. You know, like Mama Vanessa said, the enemy sees us as one people. Even Mama Roy was saying, because when they are fighting against us, they're not fighting against the light skins and the dark skins and the the ones who live in the heights and the terraces, and ones who live just in the old houses, they're fighting against all of us. They're trying to kill all of us. They're trying to get rid of all of us. And they ain't interested in what we look like. So these things have been born out of the separations that the colonizers made us focus on. That Willie Lynch letter is so wicked, and I pray against it, because these are the things he had in that letter that use these things among us to separate us. What we look like, who lived in the country and who lived in the city, who lived even in the planter's house, and those who lived in the field. All the differences they could find, they used against us. And they taught their children to do these things to us. So they ingrained this thing in us, so much so that it becomes so much a part of us that we grow up now and we still see these differences. We are grown adults and we still look at these differences because this has been planted in us, but we got to uproot it and get rid of it, because we are one people. We are one people that they are trying their best to destroy. They're not choosing who, all of us. And we have to realize that when we go through things, it's all of us going through. So we have to come together and unify. We definitely cannot go home with these attitudes. We definitely cannot go home looking at complexion and stupidness, because Elder is correct. And I've always been seeing that, and I've always been saying, our people got to get it together. This is one of the things when the Father says we have to get rid of the Western ways and the things we learned in the West. This is one. And all of their other ways that we learn, the ways that we learn to live, and the ways that we learn to, destroy each other and destroy ourselves before Tatanzambi, the unrighteous way that we live now. We have got to get rid of it. When we come back to Tatanzambi, it is a new way. We come back and we go right back to what our righteous ancestors did. When there was righteousness, when Balak went to when Balaam went to curse us, he stood up there and he said, I can't curse them. There is no unrighteousness in them. He couldn't curse us. And if our righteous ancestors could live like that and there was no unrighteousness among them, we can do it. We have to come back to Tatanzam. We can't do it alone. We can't do it by ourselves. We ain't got it in ourselves. And we definitely can't look to no colonizers or nothing, no other nation to help us do this. We have got to do this as a people, come back to Tatanzami and live the right way that he wants us to live. He called us to live, because we ain't going back in slavery. I know nobody here ain't want to go back in. We ain't going back. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So we have got to guard ourselves, guard the gates, and teach our children coming up, teach everybody coming up, and all who will hear. These are the ways we have to go back to. We cannot do it like them anymore. We got to forget their ways, forget the differences, and realize we are one people. We are one people. And we got all these shades in between us because they mixed in between us to wash us out. They mixed in between us trying to whitewash us out. But we didn't whitewash out. We got all these shades, a million different shades. We are all one. We are all one. So let us get together and stay together, because they get together to destroy us. We got to get it in our heads. When we go back home, we are one people. When we are in the diaspora, we are one people. We cannot, and we're back together. We back together. We're one again. Maya Mona said we are one again. So we are one again. We got to start thinking like one. Excuse me. We got to start acting like one. We are one. Amen. Ingeta.
Ingeta.
Oh my.
Mama Shelley.
Hey, Ingeta.
Drop the mic on that. Close the
Big
book.
time.
Get about doing.
Big time, big time. You know, when you were speaking, Mama Shelley, I just got this revelation. Tobias was in Nineveh. Sarah was in the land. We have some of us scattered in Nineveh today.
Wow.
We have some of us in the land. And both sides are going through a lot of stuff. Sarah was dealing with demons, right? And the Most High sent Raphael to walk through Tobias, who was away in Nineveh, to come and bring deliverance to those in the land.
Wow.
If Sarah had decided, I ain't gonna listen to you, boy. If Tobias had decided, what I gotta do with this African, Sarah, we wouldn't be here. If they hadn't listened to the Most High's angel, Raphael, if somebody had told them, oh, that's just witchcraft, she'd be dealing with those demons up to today. Okay, let me get back here. All right, Mama Margaret, go ahead, and then we'll go to Nick.
Yes, hear me, everyone. Mama Matisula was speaking about members of church. Okay, we saw where he was burying bodies. It doesn't matter. Once it's from his brother, whoever died or got murdered, he will clean up. But speaking about members of church, I want to know, like, who bring about these things? So, since when you have to become a member of a church, because I experienced these things in here, I remember this pastor saying, they wouldn't do something for somebody, like, okay, don't bring your bread into the church. So wherever you reside or wherever you're going to church, go there. So like if it's like things like that gonna happen, and if take somebody die and say, okay, this church is close to me, let them church there, I don't know, and they will go and bury it there. They would not do it, right? And I went to this church when I was in New York. So you have to fellowship there much, you have to fill out this form. You have to put it a form and put your life story on it to be a member of this church. Yes, yeah. That was Brooklyn Tabernacle. That's a huge church in New York. Yeah, I had to put it a form, and when you go into this church now, if you go way down to the front, it's like, oh no, this seat is reserved. We ain't got house seat reserved. So my daughter very defined, like, what? What nonsense is speaking inside of here? Very defined, but there's a step back, They have all these barriers, and there's a frenzy to go to heaven. So this is where sometime I was talking, and people think with money could buy a way into God's house, could buy a way to heaven. So in past time, I understand, they would pay for the atonement of sin, they would commit murder. I think this is where the Catholic Church bring this system about come and confess your sin in the box. So when they tell them all the wickedness and say they're buying, so you tell them, say, oh, I could commit all the crimes and murder everybody and come and whisper in the box. So when these people steal and kill people and have all this wealth, that was a way to take wealth from people, because I know your secrets. So I would take this thing. That was a kind of banking. I think that's all. I can't remember the name, but that I think is that was a way for them to take money from people, and you create a banking system, because I know all your secrets. I know all your wickedness. And even in the Catholic schools now, there's an exam system, and you're all about in the Caribbean, everywhere. But your child is not my child will be doing well, good, of course. This is what it takes again, and this is what it takes again. So they will say, okay, I have all this money, I have money. So they will go and buy a seat in that school. Your child doing so good, studying hard, made it great to go there. But of course, because of their money and they give and pass it on, they buy a seat and they bump your child off and all this kind of and all kind of thing. This is the system they create, and this is where they form this thing, and all these churches get corrupted, filthy, and nasty, and they don't care. We don't care. Like it doesn't matter our skin on here, because once I join the system and I get in money, I would do what you say, right? So they brush you off. You have to go to fight for that place back for your child and all this kind of thing. But I said, this thing, no matter, see what you have inside of here, in your head, there's a knowledge, you can't take away that from somebody. So this is the thing that they form and they pass that on to everywhere. So they get so engulfed in this nonsense that they just don't care. It's about the money-making thing. And they're telling you could buy away with sin. That's why I always say, Father, these people have no respect for you. They have no respect for him because they think that he's blind, he's deaf, he can't see, or something or the other. But now it's time for judgment. I don't know what they will say. Or if they will want to go and sit in that front seat there still. They have to pay for their wickedness. I don't always say. Get her.
You get her. You get
That was the truth in Geta.
Oh my, so well said, Mama Margaret. Oh yes. Oh my goodness, yes. I've been to churches where 1/3 of the front row seats were reserved. Yes. Oh, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. I mean, all this exclusiveness that they brought into worship. I mean, this is ridiculous. You know, I posted a video of a lady by the name of Dr. Frances Cress Wesling. If you haven't watched that lady, she did a lot of videos. They're on YouTube. Watch them. Watch them. Watch them. And somebody posted a video of Dr. Ben Yohakanan. I think I'm saying his name maybe right or wrong. Watch this people. Dr. Francis Cress explained about a group of people. I'll call them the global minority. And this global minority for thousands of years has realized that if we continue to mix, one group, that group of the global minority will genetically become annihilated. And because of that, for thousands of years, they've tried to keep us apart. They've tried to segregate us. They've tried to be exclusive in order to dominate the majority. It's ridiculous. They're not even 20% of the global population. But it's over now. It's over. We even know this information. It's over. You know, all we got to do, keep the commandments, stay truthful, live righteously, you know, same old stuff that we always knew. Man, I could go on and on. Nick, go ahead.
Wow. I just wanted to point out something that Mama Shelley spoke about. This just a statement she made. When you seek the Most High, as Tobit had written, you will realize that the Most High will provide, and nothing, even people cannot curse you because you don't have any wrongs. And she brought out that statement when they went to Balaam, and the person, Balaam, couldn't curse them. Now, I just wanted to give a background of that within the context of the continent. There was someone who used to, I wouldn't call them a priest, but like an elder who used to undertake those pronunciation of cursings. So when they would do that, they would ask you to, it's like taking an oath, and they would be the ones performing the oath. So if they are not able to curse you, then it means that you've already passed the checklist. You don't have anything. So the person himself cannot take upon himself to pronounce that oath or to pronounce that curse because they know there's nothing wrong. It's like saying you moved someone's boundary, but you've seen the boundary was not moved. Right? So you cannot go and say, now I'll pronounce a curse, yet the boundary wasn't moved. So in that context, just to give you a highlight, the curse in our area, we call the kedito. So the person who would perform this would first be asking the other person or would be looking for evidence. It's like a court case, if this person has any wrongdoings. And when they don't have any wrongdoings, they're not in a position to pronounce the curse because of the righteousness of the person. So just to give a context in that regard, because most of the times that story of Balaam, people know he was the guy, the go-to guy, like Amazon delivery for curses and stuff like that. But in essence, he couldn't have been that without the back end story. So you need to get that context, is that there were people who were performing these things, like the same way we have priests or an elder or a certain specific person who was supposed to be doing this. So it's important for that. And then secondly, this is something that might have missed out a lot in terms of just understanding the context of all this story. Remember, he said when they sent out the demon, it went to the upper parts of what was it? I can't remember. The upper parts of Egypt.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Now, the uppermost part of Egypt would be the northernmost part of Egypt.
I thought of it as the southern.
Remember Genesis 13:1 when Abraham said he went up out of Egypt. Right? And I will show you how that relates, right? So the up part, which is the northern part, would be the southern part of the South Sudan part. Yes, it would be in the South Sudan area, because the southern part of Egypt is currently where Egypt is, and the northern part of Egypt was where Sudan is currently. So kind of like it stretched almost to Kenya on the borderline. So it's almost as if you're taking the map and then just like turning it upside down. But this is something that for you to get a context, because people might miss this a lot. The first time we get to hear about Nineveh is in Genesis, Genesis 10.
Jonah.
And most people just think about it when Nineveh is always thought about with Jonah. But Nineveh was founded by Nimrod. Right? Nimrod, right? You know a story about Nimrod and where he came from, right? And then what also do we know about Nineveh? So just to put a context. And then a few weeks ago, I shared a map that you circled Sukkot and Senna. At this point in time, Nineveh was being taken care of. The king of Assyria was called Sennacherib. The king of Assyria, right? Which Assyria was the bigger portion, and Sennacherib was the king of Assyria. Assyria is Shur, and it was formed under Nimrod. Right? So it was, if you look at the history now, you start seeing where Nineveh is it's somewhere where Nimrod was. We know it was a town founded by Nimrod, right? Sennacherib, which we know is from Senna, and then to the uppermost part of Egypt, which we know is in the southern Sudan area. Now, we get to understand that, and we see now how it's referenced. And we are brought back to the attention because even Jesus mentioned it in Matthew, and also it's brought up in Luke, Nineveh. But don't forget, Nineveh was also the town where Pharaoh was picked up and taken after after his soldiers died. Remember, in the books, I think it was in the Jubilees or the Testament of Moses, when he crossed and his soldiers died in the crossing, God took him and took him to Nineveh. He never died in the crossing, Pharaoh. It's written. So again, we see the proximity can't be too far off. So now we are seeing Nimrod, we are seeing Pharaoh, we are seeing all these things, and we are seeing now Balaam wanting to cast. I mean, you are seeing all these stories that relate to Nineveh and its wickedness. And then the devil of dying and killing is sent there. It just now brings in a story of why you see South Sudan the way it is. The devils that were sent to die, and the fights that have always been there in South Sudan. It's not a stranger, to the land. So now you get to picture a context of the location to understand the people. Even Jonah himself was refusing to go there because he had reasons. South Sudanese people are very stubborn. If you've never met them, I've gone to South Sudan. I kid you not. And they are tall. They're like giants. I'm like 5'7", they're 8. They're like 6'7", 6'9", 7'2". And those guys will just slap you for nothing. You just say you excuse. They slap you. And now they're a bit more progressed, but they still have that animosity. They just beat you up. They start a war for nothing. Literally nothing. Because you're drinking cold water. It's just, you wonder, So you get why
Nick,
even Jonah was
hold
like
on.
refusing to go there because he was like,
hold on,
I
Nick.
don't want to go.
Hold on, Nick. You're breaking in and out. Just mute and get back in. Yeah.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I was saying, so you get a context in terms of the location of the area, just to understand when you start thinking about it in terms of Nimrod, Sennacherib, you think of Senna, you think of Pharaoh, Nineveh, and then now you start putting this into the context. The people who Tobias was dealing with in Nineveh were not his people. They were like a different tribe. They were not like Bantu, or they were not like us. They were not used to the commandments and things like that. So it is similar to the saying, "Do not marry the Canaanites," because they were different people. And Nimrod had the Baal worship.
Yes.
And you remember now it's Esau who killed Nimrod, and he took off and wore those clothes. So he wasn't so far from Midian. Remember that. And we see Moses was around Midian. So you can now see the context of the area so that you just understand what it's all about. But also you get to be placed where they talk about fish. So you must think about where fish is found and things like that, and how to get to that place. So you're not going to get a whale in the middle of dry land because they don't exist in rivers, unless now you're talking this guy was swallowed up by a dinosaur of some sort. But that's just the context, because most of the time we are pushed off. So when you look back, you start looking at the Tobias was talking from a point of almost like the guys who like Seth in the because he's been handed down this information. So to keep the commandments, to keep the ordinances, to keep the feasts. And he's aware of this. And we are the modern day Tobias, to be honest. Because if you go and talk to someone right now, they just think you're cuckoo. It's like you've lost you're ordering another set of brains from Amazon. Because it's like you've lost it. You're telling someone and they like look at you like, you missed a few pairs of nuts somewhere. What are you telling me? This is all cuckoo stuff, And then and you can imagine the frustration of Tobias. He's going and looking at these guys. He's seen Jerusalem getting, and of course he's seen these places destroyed. He's tried to tell these guys. He's seen guys dying. He's told them before, and he's like, he's just like, why? So we are now the modern day Tobias, to be honest. And we are trying to tell some people, but they're not listening. They don't hear. Frustration, it's like, to the point, even when you look at the story of Jonah was like, "Ah, you just kill me. You should just kill me." Then God tells me, why don't thou be angry? Does it benefit you to be angry? Such thing. It's because you are dealing with people who will not listen to you, from family, from relatives, to even just strangers who think you're nuts, you're crazy, because you're telling them something that doesn't appear. But then you realize that yes, the Most High will back you up. At the same time, you gotta stay within your lane. Sense that you have to remember to
Nick, it's breaking
that
up
the Most
again.
High is with you, regardless of the journey. It's like you're just meeting some people, but you have to continue with the journey. Oh, might be disappearing.
Nick, it's breaking up again.
Okay, I'll just let someone talk and maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey Nick, before you come back, remember we were having a conversation the other day. I just remembered this when you're talking about South Sudan. We were having a conversation the other day about Lake Turkana. Lake Turkana is south of Sudan. It's in northern Kenya. And there's an area around Lake Turkana with desert-like conditions. And they have a name for it. The name for it was something like the Devil's Garden or the Devil's Desert or something. Just look it up while we still have the conversation.
Yeah, it's the Devil's Garden.
The Devil's Garden. It's a desert pretty
Yes.
much. Now, it came to
Full of
mind.
stones.
Yeah, it came to mind when I remembered that, this demon was cast to the uppermost parts of Egypt, which is that region of South Sudan and Turkana. All right. Mama Royal,
And that's
Mama Royal, yeah.
they force people like.
Okay, you'll come back with that, Nick. You'll come back with that. Hey, welcome, Isaf. Welcome, Sister Michelle, Sister Sandra. You're welcome. Welcome. We are talking about Tobit. Go ahead, Royal daughter.
Wow. Something that Sister Shelley said that struck a chord with me, when she spoke about we're all the same skin color, but we don't all behave alike. There's a saying in the United States, all skin folk ain't kin folk. But the prevailing theme throughout this is a bloodline. From the beginning of the book to the end, more than skin color, they're talking about a bloodline. He starts with his genealogy and he ends almost with his genealogy. So we're talking more than anything, not about skin color, but about a bloodline. And, it's the bloodline of Nzambi. So he knows more than anybody else who is his bloodline and who's not. Throughout this book, he talks, it was important for Tobit and Tobias to stay within the bloodline, not to contaminate the bloodline. And that was a command given by the Most High to Isolele as well. So that's what's going to be important in the end. It's that bloodline. And, I really wanted to talk about the plan of the Most High and who is it for? Because we see throughout how the Most High, when they prayed, he heard their prayer. And he made a plan to to answer their prayer. And it's like, his thoughts are way higher than ours. The way we think that the Most High is going to answer or is supposed to answer is so different from the way he really answers, because he knows what building blocks he has to move to make that plan work. And so he started this plan to save these two people. And it was because of their faithfulness to him. So that's who the plan is for. And it's still the same. The plan of the Most High started from the beginning of creation when he spoke to our father Adam. He made that plan from the beginning. And the plan is for those who worship him in spirit and in truth, his followers. So it doesn't matter what color you are, you know what I'm saying? He's coming for a certain people, those that worship him in spirit and in truth, those that walk in his character. And I want to talk about Raphael. That word Raphael is not even a name. It's a designation. In Isaiah 6 and 7, it talks about the angel. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the thongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth and said, Lo, this had touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin is purged. So Raphael and the seraphim is the same name. It's the same designation. Rapha, the word Rapha means my healer. And so the seraphim are the angels of healing and purification, more than just healing, purification. Raphael means the healer of God, or, in some of the Bantu terms, they call the word for God is El. So Raphael means the healer of the Most High. Now, Raphael is an archangel, meaning that he is the leader of the angels of his category, being a healer. It's like Michael. Michael is the leader of the warriors, angels of the Most High. And, they speak about the 7 angels that stand before the Most High. Their names are their designation. Like Raphael means the healer of the Most High. And he is the leader of the seraphim angels who, when Isaiah describes the seraphim, he describes them with wings, 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he flew. So that when the Most High speaks about coming with healing in his wings, he's talking about the seraphims that he will dispatch to do the healing, because they are the angels of healing. So this Raphael, this word, is a very intense meaning. The archangels are the angels that stay in the presence of the Most High, and they are the leaders of their category, and they carry the word, the messages, they carry out the orders of the Most High. So when Joshua saw that man, and he ran up to him, and he's like, who are you with? And the man says, I am the leader of the warrior angels. And Joshua fell at he told Joshua, take your shoes off where you stand in this holy ground. So the archangel is the leader, and they carry out the orders of the Most High. So that's what Raphael That's what it means. He is the healer, and that's why he came equipped to heal, because they both needed healing. They both needed healing, but it's amazing to watch how intricate the plan of the Most High was, that he ended up bringing both of them together through this angel, Raphael, and to send the archangel, the head of the angels, just the word to execute this plan. It's another thing. It's another thing all by itself, because normally he would send one of the seraphims, as we saw with Isaiah. He sent a seraphim, but to send Raphael, that means these people were so beloved by the Most High that he sent the leader, the archangel Raphael. So this is like so intriguing to me that and a lot of people think that when they hear the seven spirits of the Most High and the seven angels that stand before the Most High, they're the same thing. No, they're not the same thing. An angel is a messenger of the Most High. Tatan Zambi, the Most High, is seven spirits. And in Isaiah 1, he talks about the seven spirits, the spirit of wisdom and the spirit. He tells you who the seven spirits are. So they're not, the seven angels are not the same as the seven spirits. Engeta.
Engeta.
Oh, Mama Reodota, thank you for that big mic drop. That is huge. That is huge, huge, huge. You're cumulatively, we're learning more about angels. It's like we're just being given a little bit here, a little bit here. Remember when we went to South Africa and just in a 5-minute ride, we were given like 30 years of education about angels, what they do, what they don't do, And I think the example given at that time was of seraphim and cherubim and Raphael as an example of an angel. And then here we are reading about Raphael. Now we are realizing, wait a minute, this is like a general. This is an archangel. The Most High sends an archangel for you and me. Oh, I mean, some of us, we get hurricanes and they don't even send FEMA, Guys, the Most High loves you. He really does. He really does. He really, really does love you. Mama Emma, go ahead.
Engeta, awesome building, getting this body into the 1, 2, 6 to be standing up. Okay. Thanks, Nick, for bringing in some more background. So now I can introduce this demon as Asomdeus. Okay, when I looked it up, he's called the king of the demons. My thing just went down. Sorry. Oh, shucks. Okay, he's called it king of the demons. He has 3 heads: head of a goat, head of a man, head of an ox. Okay, those are very significant. Okay. And then he was assigned to who? Sarah. That's what I thought was, I was like, okay, why is it like those 2 names just seem so opposite, Tobit, Tobias, and Sarah. But, and then the background that Nick just gave us about Nineveh and being established by Nimrod. Okay. And the purpose that he had was annihilation, castration, and to take you right to hell. I was like, I mean, and guess where I found this information? In the Jewish mythology, Jewish. I was like, see, and what have we discovered from the very onset of the awakening in Revelation? I know who you are. You say you are, but you are the synagogue of Satan. I was like, and then you come to Tobit, and it's like, okay, the parallel between, as the other sister said, between Christianity and Tobit. I mean, the parallels of these what's in our book, in our Bible, and what's in Tobit, and then the other point that you pointed out about being a deuteronomical, I can't say that word, and again, the connection between the woman at the well, somebody was talking about the master. I mean, just some highlights. The master and the Willie Lynch connection, and the connection that I got with that was the master bedroom, and how again, going back to what this enemy was doing, 7 husbands, and she wasn't able to marry. Okay, so then you got this familiar spirit that says you're married to me, and so you can't, again, because she wants to cut off what we're talking about, the bloodline, the seed. Okay, and so I mean, the book of Tobit is like, there's no, I mean, it's just direct, on target on everything. There's no, and the only way we could get that with the backgrounds that we have built up to this point, building up to understand what Tobit is saying. Because I think if we just read it a little bit earlier, it would be like Vanessa was saying, I need to understand a little bit more. I don't, it's kind of weird. But now we're able to get directly what he's saying. And then when Nick said, no, when Ray said, we have to remember that this was after. And so what he was doing, and his condition, he was totally traumatized, exactly where we are. And how, again, how this is so in time, in the past, but so future. In reading it, the way we're reading it now, it's like, oh my goodness. So let me see what else. I made these notes, but okay. Sudan. I watched this movie the other day about what's going on in the Sudan with the oil, and then the things that you all are talking about, and it's like, why is that? It's like this is polluting all the water, but where it's located, and these people, now these people should be exceedingly rich, just like the Arab people, the modern Arabs, they should. And I remember back in whenever they discovered this oil, and it was like, okay, this is a big thing, but I didn't connect it to what I'm connecting it to now. It's like, okay, it's the seat. Okay, like we started out with Adam and Eve in the garden, all that area over there. And so then you got this demon, the king of the demons. And there was some more information, but as usual, well, not as usual, but okay, what happened is I couldn't get on Zoom on my iPad, and all my notes in order are on my laptop, and I can't switch back and forth to get them. So I did pick up some information. It's like, okay, the other thing about the 3 heads, okay, in the modern Hebrew, you have the alphabet, and the ox is the first letter, the aleph, and they said, It's the strong leader. Okay. And the other symbol is the head. Okay, the head is like the second to the last letter. It's called and it's represented by the R or Resh. Resh means head. Head is also leader, strong leader, and the first. Okay, so what I'm seeing is, okay, our history here in America with the Indians, they killed all the buffalo. They killed all the ox. And and the way they teach that is, okay, the ox is the strong leader. He's the leader of the house, and he's supposed to be, be the provider. But everything that I've learned through the Hebrew language and in Christianity, those are the things that they kill. Even on the continent of Africa, it's the same thing right now. They have to the groups that are cattle owners don't have the land, and I think that's part of what I saw in the video on Sudan, where the oil is, and they still try to raise cattle, but they have to keep moving the cattle, and now it's flooded. It's totally flooded and contaminated water with the oil, and they're still trying to raise the cattle. But anyway, so again, this three-headed king of this demon that's king of hell. Okay, you got again his three head and the goat. Well, we know what the goat represents. So again, he was assigned at the beginning in the book of Tobit. And another reason why we ask this question, why was Tobit taken out? I mean, if these aren't examples of why it was taken out, I don't know what else could be. I mean, it's just so many things here. Okay, also what came up, and I wrote down, who will sit in the seat? Remember the sons of the woman who wanted, when JC came and they went to the mountain and he came down and they saw the vision, and she was saying, I want my son to sit on your right hand and your left hand. And he said, no, I don't, you can't do that. And so again, I don't know who was speaking when that came up. It's like, I mean, I hope you all can see these little things that I'm talking about, because it seems so disjointed right now. Okay, let's see. Oh, again, the woman at the well, she was the one who had multiple husbands when she met Jesus. Remember, Samaritan woman, and she was telling him about we worship in the mountain, and you don't have anything to do with us Samaritans. So all of this is in the book of Tobit. Every last one of these things. Like I said, Tobit to me was like the whole Bible, but it was just kind of disjointed if you don't know the scriptures, and if you haven't been following how the Most High has been revealing things through these different books. And there are some people who exactly that, like when she was talking about the pastors, it said not only will they not help other people if they're not in your, if you have a family member who's not in your church, they will not do that. And they've been putting a lot of, well, they were, I don't follow that now. They were putting a lot of that kind of information out, and they was closing down the churches because the pastor was still trying to go to the church, and they had locked it, all kind of crazy stuff. Again, big distractions of the enemy, this kingdom, this whatever, however you pronounce that. And for another reason why I looked it up, because it reminded me of Esmeralda. What was it's a play or something? I can't remember, and I couldn't find any information that's connected with that. Anyway, yeah, Ingeta, those are the things, and I think that was so revealing in this book of Tobit. And like you said, starting it out with Tobit was partially blind and how he got here. Okay, I did look up something on that too. And the fish, because then I thought, okay, this sounds like the book of Jonah. The fish. And so I had AI do a study for me, and I said, compare and contrast the importance of the liver in our physical body and how it's the organ of detoxification and all of that, and they use the liver in Tobit and Tobias to heal his eyes. And so, I mean, it was, like I said, it was a lot, and I can't retain information like you young people, so I'm sorry I don't have my notes, but those are some highlights, and it's like, you all are hitting it right on the head and connecting and the Most High revealing these little parts. Like I said, it's the little grapes that have been spoiling the vines, and He has kept us distracted by all these so-called big things. Okay, the other thing too, Trump. Nobody's brought that up. The last Trump, but also what I was hearing, and I didn't do a lot of research on this particular point for this lesson, but Trump, we're to blow trumpets, but in this awakening and from the Hebrew Israelite Jewish teachings, they use a ram's horn, and you have to get a ram's horn from an animal. So again, they're about destroying the animals, and they're using okay, the other thing with that, the blowing of the trumpet and the ram's horns, somebody put the video on there about, I think it was Methuselah, about the sounds and the vibration. And it was like, oh my goodness. And so I looked at that, and all this was tied in here too, as well as what we're learning is that the voice, the Most High said, you didn't obey my voice. And then the other thing too was the angel. There's an angel that's particular in charge of music and sound, which was originally Lucifer. That was his job. He had, and when you look up some of the description, it says that on the inside of him was like an organ. He had all these pipes that made all these sounds. And so when that video came up, the thing that the Most High has been keep reminding me of, it's about the vibrations and sound. And remember last week we talked about how they have lowered the megahertz on everything that we deal with, especially in the hip hop community. And remember, I don't know if you all went back and looked at the video on Nick Cannon re-uploaded, and the man on there, I forget his name, was talking about what the letters in hip hop mean. And it had something to do with healing our people, and it had to do with the sound. And again, that's another reason why they took it and weaponized it against us, because it has to do with sounds and the vibrations. And we hear a lot about that now, raising your vibration, come up higher. And then when I heard that, it's like, I remember Michelle and former president saying, when they go low, we go higher. And then we find out all the stuff they doing in the higher at the house. So anyway, I mean, just all these things, all these little pieces of the puzzle are coming together as we break up the fallow ground and as we build on the solid foundation of the cornerstone of who the Most High is and who the other Most High is not, and the powers that be not are coming down. And I think somebody said, we are Tobias. I was like, yeah, and I've been saying that, we are the universe. And that was the other thing that was in that video that she put up. And it talks about the sound that emanates from us. And I was talking to another sister and I said, okay, so that's the thing that when they see us, again, based on the research that Wellsing has done, and I looked at that video again too, and I looked at it all the way to the end this time. It's like, oh my goodness. But anyway, when the police are shooting our brothers, when they're running away and saying, I was afraid because my life was threatened, it's that those vibrations, that pureness of who they are, even though they don't know, this thing that she was saying, we don't know. And even when we do know, we're still afraid because of what has happened at the beginning, and we haven't been able to untangle ourselves from that Willie Lynch thing that he did. And it was his voice when he talked to them, and he said, when they do this, when they focus on colorism, when they focus on these things, and when they teach us about the magic trick, there's one word that's like a trigger. And so, it's a lot of times we didn't know what that trigger word was, but now we are. But it's been a challenge letting go of those trigger words. We still use them a lot, and it's, yeah. So all of that in the book of Tobit, and all of that because Tobit is no longer partially blind. Ingeta.
Ingeta. Ingeta. Hey, brother Asaf. Good to see you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. And get that.
All right, go ahead and then we'll take a break after you.
Oh, right on. This is gonna be short and sweet. Because I went over this book 2 times and I didn't even do any notes on it. I couldn't even do any notes. I felt get a little personal right here for a second. I felt very frustrated going over this book. Like it frustrated me. Like it's like all this stuff that we are going through in reading all these books, I've always had an understanding of their existence, but to now be reading them and I'm glad I didn't read them before, but to have this understanding of reading them now, it's upsetting me. Um, I'm getting upset because there's a couple of very simple themes. And of course, I don't have to explain to any of you, but there's some very simple themes that are just throughout. And I don't care how far back of a scroll you want to go, what change you want to go. One thing I keep hearing is don't mix with them. Don't stop mixing. You have a blood. It just, and I'm frustrated because dang, man, like, like again, I just keep thinking about what was the book we were reading? With the little kids getting tortured in front of their mom. Which book were we on? What was that? Maccabees?
Yeah.
That was Maccabees, yeah. And again, like I said, at the end, do you get it now? Do you get it now? Now I think we're gonna have some more kids with them. Let's have a few more. It's this, it's kind of the same. I honestly didn't do notes on this. I went through the book twice. I tried to be patient and I'm just irritated. Like, you know, being raised as a witness, of course, we always had the understanding of you got Jehovah and he's like your dad and he's trying to treat you like a loving father and this and that, so we understand that concept, right? And I always had that understanding, when I had my own kids and I'm raising my kids, I always would reflect on, wow, man, I can imagine how much, man, look how much God got to actually deal with because my kids are driving me crazy because they hard-headed. Like you try to tell them the simple thing and they ain't trying to listen. And now even more so, I'm just so mad at like it, what was it? There's no booty over there. There's no like what was it that made us like keep going? This was the problem. There was only a few problems we had, but that was our law. Look at you have a bloodline, you're special. Like you're not like everything else on this beautiful thing I created called the planet Earth. You are different, you are unique, and you have to stay separate and unique, just like a rose does. Hey, the roses ain't gonna mix with the sunflowers. Sunflowers ain't gonna mess with the roses. Like just be you. And it's interesting because just this morning, I'm chilling and everything, and I'm doing my normal visiting Africa on YouTube, just trying to get myself there. And I'm listening to a sister. She did a broadcast on believe it was Black Diaspora Network. But she was it was a great report that she was doing, but she's from South Africa and she mentioned that she was a Christian and she started with but here we just believe in all being one and doesn't matter where you come from. Da, da, da. And I'm like, it's that same, like, man, like I know you want, yeah, because she was doing an article about the Boers and that whole issue. And it's like, yeah, you want to get rid of them. Yeah, we see that problem, but you still caught up in that, hey, come on, let's mix it up thing. There are so many mental ninjistic twists that they did with us. Like, and it's such a simple thing because that's hard to explain to anybody without sounding like you're a horrible racist it's been and that's been a thorn in my side for years. I don't mean to rant. I apologize. I don't mean, but this has been a thorn since me coming to the realization of a lot of this. And hey, you're talking about us. I remember telling my family because we always grew up, using the words Babylon and worldly, the people of the world. And I'm like, yeah, but when we add it up, it's them. Like, didn't even know all the history. But I'm like, I mean, I see the same faces. I ain't never seen us do it. Like, how are we part of worldly? Like, I don't get that, right? And we're supposed to just stay separate from, but no, let's just go. See, because one day we're just all going to be one and it's going to be beautiful. We're going to learn to get along. It's going to work out. It's going to work. It's okay that they like mud and we like showers and blah blah. Like it's cool. It's all right. It's all right. They don't need salt, but we do. That's all right. That's all right. It's like it's why like we can't do that. And it's to this very day, it's a difficult conversation. Like being in America, being in California, I ran into somebody. I've lost friends over my little comments, because when they start, we're all one, and I'm not, and I just have reactions. But I was around somebody and they were saying something about us all being one and everything. And we were in a grocery store and around a whole bunch of people, hippie people. And what I mean, because it's a health food store. And we're having a conversation about moving and shaking, and I'm talking about Africa and this and that. And they said something about, well, it's nice because the family should just mix and we'll all get along. I was like, oh, heck no. We need to stop that. And I didn't even realize until I got all the looks looking back at me. I was like, oh, that didn't come out right. Like I didn't. But it's like, but it's real though. It's like, it's take a minute, take a minute. We got to understand some things. And it's difficult. It's still a difficult conversation. I mean, many of us are mixed and we have different bloodlines and then we have different cultures that we've spread out to. It ends up being a touchy subject, but we got to be realistic. Like when we keep looking at just historically, come stupid don't like stupid. Like it just we got to learn at some point, like I don't know if it takes a pause. I guess everybody's doing it individually and we are doing it collectively in our own way, but individually is where the problem comes in, is where the so and so wants to sneak off, and hey man, I ain't gotta listen to you, I'm gonna go and do that anyway. And that's and that individually starts, that one does it, two, because before, I remember back in the day, man, just maybe about 15 years ago, it was kind of a joke to be messing around with white girls. Now these dudes is like acting like they flexing. Like, look at what I did. Like, it's funny to me. But anyway, it's like they serious. Like, look at what I did. Like, really? That's your accomplishment for the day. But we need to get back to respecting. I was having a conversation with my daughter about this, and yeah, this all had to do with Tobit. It just frustrated me, but just with our relationship with our queens as men, what I mean? Like when we're missing, like, because I have my equation of when we've crossed or gone over a hurdle. There'll still be residue to fix and clean up, but here's what I'm looking for is two things to happen for us to collectively, for me to breathe. When the Congo is free and when women stop wearing weaves. I think when we get to it sounds a little funny, but and I don't mean just like, you can't wear them ever, but you know what I mean? Like we have a weave problem. Like we have a weave problem. And my daughter, we was talking about, I'm like, you got to think about the dominoes that come with that. You know what I mean? Because from you guys being our foundation, and we keep having these conversations about Mother Earth, Mother Woman, the feminine spirit, and all these things, it's like we're kind of just the seed that protects everything that feminine energy takes care of. And it's like when we go outside of that and we just break down our bloodline, we break down our garden. Right now, I was looking at an article this morning, Japan, they haven't had a birth in several months. Same thing happened in Italy. Same things happen in the UK. Like they're not having children. You know what I mean? Which is why they offering us money. Like, hey man, y'all popping them out. Puerto Ricans don't want to come over, so y'all come on over. So it's like they need all this. And we need to just, man, if we can get back to our value, and if, even if we go back in time to these scrolls, however the stories may have been mixed up, because I heard a whole lot of BS in that book. I heard whole lot of mixing in the writing. But still, if we go back to, hey, if you understand the source of who you are and how special you are, you're supposed to be a steward. Like that's part of that responsibility. It's like you're to be looked up to as an example of pureness. And the pureness wasn't the cartoon Christianity stuff that they were talking. We had pure blood and we had a pure relationship. Done deal. Hard pause. Like that was the purity that we had.
Yeah.
But instead it was still that tiptoeing into other things, which is just like eating that fruit. Well, let me see what's up though. Let me see what's up with the fruit. And that's all that was necessary. Just let me be curious about it. That's our forbidden fruit. Let me go on and mix with that knowledge base. It doesn't work out for us. It seems consistent. So hopefully we get on another book that I don't know, be happier about, because I just got frustrated this week. Like it was just like, oh,
don't worry, we'll get to some others. We'll get to some others. Don't worry.
Man. But that was it though. That's all I got for this week on this book, man. Y'all got
All right. All right. I'm gonna thanks, brother Asaf. I'm gonna close for those that need to leave. I'm gonna close with this prayer from Tobit, but I'm not gonna read all of it. I'm just gonna read about 6 or 7 verses. All right. So And Tobit wrote a prayer for rejoicing and said, Blessed is the Most High who lives forever. Blessed is his kingdom. For he scourges and shows mercy. He leads down to the grave and brings up again. There is no one who will escape his hand. Give thanks to him before the Gentiles, all you children of Isolele. For he has scattered us among them. Declare his greatness. Declare his greatness there. Extol him before all the living, because he is our Lord, and God is our Father forever. He will scourge us for our iniquities, and will again show mercy, and will gather us out of all the nations among whom you are scattered. If you turn to him with your whole heart and with your whole soul to do truth before him, then he will turn to you and won't hide his face from you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share if you find this content helpful.